Welcome to the 40k Spice Center.
Anyway, hello, welcome to the 40k Spice Center.
I feel sorry for the podcast thugs.
Who do you feel sorry for?
The podcast thugs.
The
obviously.
Hydro Homies.
They weren't ready for that. Yeah.
The Water Warriors.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
The Bottled Boys.
Yeah, those guys.
The Popcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 40k Spice Center, joined by Mr. Tom Hobby Champ Layton. Hey, Tom.
It's true. It's true. I'm painting a model that is potentially older than me.
Oh, really?
It's an Eldar Viper. It is. Yeah. When was this released? Well, tell me when this was released, and then I'll tell you.
99.
Maybe
97.
I am older than both.
Really?
Of us. So, yeah. We're
okay. That's good.
That sounds so surprised, Rob. Okay, you know.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
I know I look great.
You look
but,
how you look,
you know.
and that's not my fault. That's all I'm going to say.
It was 97. Was 97.
Well, hey, listen, it's lovely to see you both. Are you both well? I'm also joined by So I'm joined by Tom Layton, sorry. And I'm also joined by Mr. John. Don't start on me, or I will go 2-4 at an event.
With Dark Angels.
Fucking John Scrivens. John Scrivens!
Yeah.
How you doing, John?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, I'm currently painting up loads of orc planes and buggies.
Me
Completely
too.
unrelated to Goonhammer.
Dickhead!
No. Ironically, I've got them all painted already. I'm actually painting commandos because I just fancied using some of the new models.
John, why is it ironic that you're taking a metalist? What's going on there?
I'm
What's
not. I've
the
already got
irony?
it all because I've got too much orc stuff anyway.
Okay.
But I'm not going to take it. So I'm taking 2 planes at my next event.
Why aren't you? Well, we'll see what tomorrow brings.
We'll see.
We'll see what tomorrow brings. What up? What up, Twitch chat? By the way, I'll say hello to you in a minute. Big love to you, John. Are you well? Like, is it because you wanna like break that 3-2 barrier? You wanna, or you just love orcs? Talk to me. Are you a narrative gamer?
I've been playing in a crusade with my orcs for the last 2 weeks as kind of a training
Bloody
montage.
hell.
And yeah, it's been fun.
The funniest thing to do would be to like quite clearly, evidently, like film yourself playing Crusade, but keep adding just vehicles like bikes and not bikes, sorry, like buggies and planes to your Crusade army, and then like after,
weird.
yeah, and then
The
after
Big
like
Mac just
5
keeps
weeks,
making them.
You what?
the Big Mac keeps making them. I haven't got a choice. The Wasp-on Blaster Jet is in the list for next week, and I have no control over what he's making, guys. It just happens to have the
feel like
teleporter blaster. It's not the good gun. It's the great gun. But yeah,
I feel like if someone had me on record playing Crusade and they also had me like my sex tape on record and they were blackmailing me with releasing either one of those videos, I would choose them to release the sex tape.
One shorter at least, but
one's more
True.
Honestly, Tom, your sex tape or your sex tape or your Crusade tape, which one is full of the most like uncomfortable moments?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't have either. So, you know.
Okay, well that's a surprise.
Just wait till the Christmas party. That's all I'm saying.
Oh fuck! What, we're gonna play Crusade, John?
Yeah. Spin the bottle crusade.
Oh.
The Bottle Crusade is great, and I like everyone in the chat is saying they're the same. Now, if you're watching this back on YouTube, we're joined by the Twitch chat. We're effectively produced by the Twitch chat. They're our producers. So we've got Steve, Diedrin, Danish Redneck, Nurgle Matthew in the chat, whoop whoop, RPG Luminary, Forksy's in the chat. Hey, Forksart.
Hell yeah.
Cart Buffler, Puke Nukem has just subscribed, so I just want to say thanks to you. That's great.
Oh, he's a hero. I met him at Goonhammer.
Who?
Very nice fellow.
Puke Nukem?
Puke Nukem. Yeah.
Really?
He had very nice things to say about the lockdown streams. So apparently it was a very positive influence on him. So
Me?
yeah.
Fucking
Does
no
happen
way.
occasionally. There you go.
No way. Oh, well, I'm glad that. I hope that helped. Maybe he just
It
meant
was
when you
appreciated.
turned up.
Probably like when there was guests.
Yeah, when there were
Probably.
guests, it
All
was
the ones
way
where there was
better.
guests.
But it was way better. All right, today's show, we are going to be, I'm going to be catching up with my co-hosts to see how they are and how 40k is, because I've been away for a week and a half, because I've been very poorly. And then we're going to take the 40k quiz that's come out from Games Workshop today. It's not a quiz, is it? It's not like, you're not playing it down.
It might as well be a quiz, mate.
You
to be
are?
honest. I've seen this already. I must admit, I've already had a sneak preview. And this is going to be one spicy shirt.
Okay.
I think the documents to do your passport are less intrusive.
Interesting. Okay. So this is something that came out from Games Workshop, so we'll be doing this today, and that's the point of today's show, which is really fun. Let's just catch you up. Tom, to catch me up, how's things with you? Playing in 40k recently, what's been going on?
Well, since last show, we did Bob, obviously, the Battle of Britain team event. That was good. I played with a bunch of Welsh boys. Scriver played with a bunch of Welsh boys. It was good. I actually turned my stream on once. I say my stream. I just turned a stream on, and I talked about it for about an hour. That was pretty fun. What else have I done? I've painted my Yunkan. I finished doing it. It's on my Twitter. You can have a look at it. I'm quite pleased with it. It's probably the best model I've done so far. And what else have I done? I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I bought some stuff, actually. I am now the proud owner of every single Shadow Spectre it's possible to fit in a 40k army.
Wow. Okay, so what is the maximum amount of Shadow Spectres you're allowed?
30, and the Phoenix Lord. So I have 6 boxes of Shadow Spectres from Forge World, because I don't value currency. 3 Exarchs and a Phoenix Lord. So those have arrived. I'm going to get those painted up. And I'm going to run 30 Shadow Spectres, which sounds shit, but it could be funny. So we'll give that a go.
What is it that's inspired you to run? What is it that inspires you to run 30 Shadow Spectres?
So I'm going to an event at the end of November called the Northern Warlords Trios, which is like a chill event. So it's held in a hotel in Warrington, and you turn up on the Monday, and then between each round you play 1 doubles game and 1 singles game with your teammates, right? And with that, it's basically you get points for how fluffy your armies are, and also you can't duplicate. You have the rule of 3 across your entire team. So I'm going with Gaz Jones, captain of the Welsh team, and Chris Whitehead, Hermanista in the chat. And we're running Eldar, and between us, we're maxing out all of the Aspect Warriors.
Love it.
So I've got Howling Banshees, and I've got the Shadow Spectres, and I've got some Warp Spiders, and then we have all the Phoenix Lords as well. And we have both the Avatar and the Yunkan.
Amazing.
So it's going to be, it's going to be good. I'm going to spend 48 hours in a hotel just drinking and playing Warhammer.
Hey, that sounds fantastic. When's that? December, you say?
End of this month. So what's the last weekend?
November.
27th. Yeah, 27th, 28th.
A question in the chat is, which poor guy has the Striking Scorpions?
Chris.
Okay, Chris has the Striking Scorpions. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dougal.
We're not allowed tanks though, so we're a bit we're just running Striking Scorpions and Howling Banshees across the board.
Thanks, Dougal Matthew, for donating the gift sub. Big love. Gitley, hi. Neil Kerr, hi. If Gaz didn't randomly roll his Eldar army, then I'm calling cheese and win at all costs. How do you feel about that?
We just used everything. I mean, he can't randomly roll it when he doesn't have a choice because we take all the other units.
That's true.
So,
That's true. All right.
Our book isn't deep enough, mate. We need the Space Marines book for that.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're well. I know you've also been doing some in-life dunking as well. So I'm happy to hear about you doing the dunk. What about you?
The dunk has.
What
been
about
done,
you,
yeah.
Mr. John Scrivens? You've been playing some 40k as well. What's been happening? Catch us up.
Yeah. So after the weekend, I did Battle of Britain with Tom.
Mm-hmm.
The weekend after that, I went up to the Goonhammer Open up in Nottingham.
Yeah.
So it was the one time I've been up to Nottingham and not seen you for quite some time, which was quite strange.
And good for you, probably.
Yeah, probably because you were probably patient zero of a mass outbreak. So yeah, and I had a really good weekend, but it was brutal. So my first matchup for that weekend was against.
What were you taking, John?
So I took Dark Angels. It was kind of a mishmash of a bit of everything. And
this is why.
Yeah, I know. I got very bored with the playing. I tried playing just bikes, and it didn't really work for me.
Yep.
I think there is a way to make that work, but nah. And Deathwing, I didn't like the whole just being slow, so I snuck in some bikes and stuff, and it just as a result, it didn't do too well. First game I played against Alex Harrison, and it was a very clean game. So despite a lot of his reputation, he played precise, clean, and friendly, and it was a great game. But I made a couple of mistakes in deployment, which gave him an open, and it was just like I couldn't have asked for a better opponent in that respect. So.
Yeah.
But and then progressively, I got kind of rougher and rougher matchups that felt even rougher, even if it wasn't possible. I did get to play. My last match was against Imperial Guard. That's how bad it went for me. That I was against Imperial Guard and got shot to shit by Manticores that didn't even need to see me, and that was pretty rough. And then little drills popping up with 4-man melter teams of Guard command squads, I think they are. So literally you can have these.
You must have been
It was.
I was gonna say you must have enjoyed like meeting Bob last weekend with his drills.
It wasn't
because
it
you knew
wasn't
exactly
Bob.
what those drills did.
It was
No,
oh,
but
the
you
week-
knew what
I
they
knew what
did.
they did, and I was just
Oh,
like,
you were ready.
I just
yeah.
had nothing to answer with it though. I was like, cool, they're gonna pop up, and I was like,
Hades breaching drills
they
lads
were,
were a lot
they
of
were
fun.
great. It was great fun, and I played against a guy that I know called Magoo, playing New Orcs, and it was quite a fun list. It didn't have all the new stuff, but it came down to the last dice roll that game. If my chapter champion killed his boss on a squigosaur, I won the game by 2 points. And he failed the save, and then failed the reroll, and I took the game. And that was great fun, but it was a very tough weekend. And six round events, they're quite tough, man.
Quite emotionally and mentally.
Yeah, at 40k, where it's like going first seems to make such a difference, and then having to sit and play through the game, and the game still take to time. Sometimes I was finding still, I was just like, by the end of it, I was done. But yeah, it was good fun. But I need to move on from Dark Angels because I feel like they do feel like they suck, and I'm not good enough a player to make them sing better than they do.
Yeah, man, they're such a high skill faction.
no,
that-
there's nothing
but
I can
also,
do with it.
isn't the worldwide stats also say that that there's nothing? You're pushing a
They're
rock
down
uphill.
to 45. Yeah, they're 45% win rate at best.
Okay.
Like,
All right. Yeah.
and I'm not a great player, so I know when I'm beaten. So I'd like to try to at least stack the odds slightly in my favour. So I've gone back to Orcs because I've got 17,000 points worth of Orcs. May as well use them.
Yeah. Also, more fun, surely, with the Orcs.
Yeah, I'm having a lot more fun again because I'm not feeling like every single model that dies means there's something missing from my list suddenly.
Yeah.
I've got that kind of couple of commandos die, cool. They run away. Oh well. I'll bring some more forward.
Well, John, I
Fun.
need a quick review of the Goonhammer Open, if you don't mind. If I can ask you a couple of classic Honest Wargamer questions at this stage. First one, how were the tables in height? First off.
Acceptable. They were the same sort of fold-out tables you'd expect. So they're probably lower than I would like them to be, but it's what you get at events. So I think.
Where was it held? What sort of event?
It was a sports hall of the girls' school in Nottingham. So it was a really good, open, clean kind of school hall, which was good.
Fucking 40k players in a girls' sports hall sounds completely wrong in my opinion. But
it was
very
strange.
sussy.
It was very strange.
sus. But like, we'll ignore that. The follow-up question is, how was the terrain?
The terrain, it was really good actually. So they were using Foreground, which is, I believe, affiliated with Vanguard Tactics. They've got a terrain pack, and each table had one of those on it. Some of them were just out of the box. Some of them had extra bits where they'd put weathering and rock and stuff on them. But every table was that set, and it was really good. I think they were good. It served a purpose. I think there's still always a challenge with 40k event terrain where they try to make an all-encompassing like table that will do everything, but there still wasn't always the perfect kind of maps for the specific missions. Like a couple of them, there was some absolute firing lines that if you couldn't hide enough, which on some of them you couldn't, you were just getting shots of shit.
Let me ask a question about this. So the terrain was preset.
Yeah,
but because
so there was set match for each round. There was a preset one that you had to change. So if you finished your game, you then had to set the table for the next people.
Okay, so you did actually change it around.
Yeah, so there were specific maps for the specific missions, and I don't think they were all perfect. I think there was a couple of the maps where you had a bit of a light kind of deployment zone.
Okay, so they did move it around. Okay, because I was going to ask that. Okay, so then why were there so many firing lines? They just hadn't thought through where to place the terrain, you think?
I think they had, and I think it was just the inevitability of I think it was the one where there's the deployment zone where you're in 1/4. How they set the terrain, you couldn't quite get cover to hide 3/4 of your army.
Compare it to the arena's terrain for the same situation. Like, what's the difference?
I think it's maybe a piece or two lighter than because you're slightly heavier in the arena, aren't you?
Yeah.
You've got 8 pieces.
We're carrying around a lot of lockdown weight, is what we're saying.
Yeah, but but yeah, I think it was a good solution. I think it was better than the LGT terrain. I think it was probably on par with the WTC sort of packs to me, because they did have one slight change where they had 2 craters, but they put a container in the middle of each of them.
Yeah.
To make them count as basically forests. So it reminded me a lot of how the WTC kind of layouts tend to be. But I don't think there's a perfect solution at the moment out there that makes me feel like there was the map that was always kind of catering to what I wanted. But maybe that's a problem that I'm supposed to fix myself, right?
What
Make
with
my
the list?
Be better at hiding. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't
Pershaw says, I don't think there's any time of terrain that can save this broken game. And also, big shout out to Nexibo, first time in the chat, first time chatter. Says he's not sure he's meant to be here. Probably not, but welcome anyway, which is good. Okay, I'm glad you're both well. I'd like to give you some 40k news from me.
Oh.
I based all of my orcs yesterday. And then I undercoated them. So I now have finally built all of the Squig Hog boys. They're ready to rock. And all
How
of
many?
my
How many?
15.
Very
so
good,
3
very
squads
good.
of 5 is what I'm aiming for. So they're all based.
Did you get the milliput out?
Pardon me?
Did you get the milliput
Oh
out?
no! Yeah, I've just so what I always just super glue them to the base, spray them, and then start painting them up. Basically.
Okay, and when you do base
And I do the bases afterwards. I might 3D print some bases. I might not. I can't decide. At the moment, I haven't settled on a paint scheme yet. But thankfully, I don't know if you know this. My list isn't all buggies, by the way. Like I've got a kill rig. I'd eventually like to get another kill rig, so I've got 2.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I'd like 2 of those. I've got 3x5 Squig Hog boys. I've got a boss on a Squigosaur. I'd probably like another boss on Squigosaur, is what I've written in my list. And I do have 2x4 buggies. Don't hate me. The worst bit is that the buggies are very, very good, right? Like, I get it. Like, I've seen them in competitive play. I've seen them in the lists. But to me, they're just they're my shooting units so that my boys the Squigosaurs can move up the board. Right, so they can start doing some early engaging, and while my Squigosaur boys just try and hide around a piece of terrain. But when they get slapped by the FAQ, if they ever get slapped by the FAQ, they'll.
If anything ever gets FAQ'd again,
then they'll just do you know what I mean? I'll lose that part, which I don't know what to replace. It's kind of what I don't know, about you guys, but I was kind of frustrated when I was sticking them all down yesterday to spray them. I was like, I should have just fucking hammered these out 2 months ago, dry brushed the shit out of them, and then used them on the table. Because by the time they're even effectively going to be used, they'll get slapped by some sort of something.
Oh mate, I'm seeing people filling in the survey who are wanting quarterly balance patches, and I'm just like, who's going to finish painting an army ever at that point if you know it's just going to get wrecked within 2 months?
Let's talk about that. That's great, because that's going to be the coming up. That's going to be the coming up thing. Okay, excellent. You have a lot of faith in that FAQ. Okay, fine. All right, chat. Don't give me this. That's fair. That's a fair point. But anyway, either way, orcs are going to be my army. I've decided. Yeah, I'm going to paint them up. They're going to look cute as hell, and I'm just going to run them a lot. And even if I get my dick slapped all the time, I'm just going to run orcs because they've got enough units that you can go a bit wide.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Especially because they've got all the vehicles. It would be Gene Stealer Cults because I don't know about you guys, but those Gene Stealer Cults looks great. So let's, on the talking about Gene Stealer Cults, let's just very, very quickly talk about the news. And Warhammer Day happened last weekend. And I wanted to get both of yours two thoughts about Custodes and Gene Stealer Cults coming out. Well, those are the 2 codex that got announced. I don't know if you guys have talked about this yet. I'll start with you, John. How do you feel about either of those 2 codexes?
I'm quite excited about Custodes because when they first dropped, I was proper up for them. And I bought a load of the plastics, painted them mediocrely, and then kind of ran out of steam with them because I didn't want to buy Forge One for them. So them coming back's an opportunity to have sold my Custode, the army, and I want to rebuy them and kind of do them a bit more lovingly. So this is the excuse, like a battle box, and to get a few units cheap is an excuse for me. So,
okay, all right. What do you think, Tom?
I think it feels really weird as a battle box choice.
Yeah.
I don't see why these factions would ever come together. It feels like Gene Stealer Cults on Terror is a little bit.
No. There's been I spoke about this before. There's been huge Gene Stealer uprisings on Terror previously. Actually, if you go back and read the Custodes lore in the Custodes Codex, the last one, one of the sub-factions is specifically tasked with putting down local insurrections on Terror, and they talk about there being a huge Gene Stealer cult uprising in one of those.
I just feel
Not to
silly.
be
It
a-
just
I feel like if you have a home planet of this massive multi-billion planet Imperium, you don't just let any old bum come and go from
But
your
you
planet.
don't. There's billions of bums. There's trillions of bums. There's more bums than.
Yeah, put them all on another planet. It's fine. Yeah.
But it just feels
Nah, it
like
doesn't
they've
make
gone
sense.
so far. To me, it's like when they did at the end of the Gathering Storm. You've got Cypher and Gilliman standing at the Emperor's door. Level kind of, it's right on the cusp of being kind of like something they can't go back on. But we all know it's just going to be and then the Custodes beat them back down again. Job done. Just it feels like another non-story of Games Workshop's kind of 40k narrative of like this big thing's happening.
It's lore. It's fine. I'm just looking at the models, right? Okay. I like that Gene Stealer Cult model. I think that's good. I think as a value set, this is great for Gene Stealer Cults because you're getting 4 characters in there, and you want all 4 of those characters.
Yeah.
I think. And then for the Custodes, I'm going to be honest. I don't really like the Custode model. I feel like it's packed full of detail that you never see because its stance is so bunched. It feels like what you want to paint all this detail, and then it just looks like a brick running at you.
Oh, the main character. Yeah, like.
Yeah, the main
I
character.
think that seems fair. That seems fair. I talked about this on the show yesterday or whatever it was. But like for me, like it feels like the Custodes is a weird book because at least double and or half, however you want to like think about it, of that book comes from another source in Forge World, and they're not in the same place, and that feels weird. So like, but I'm a big fan. Like I'm a big fan of the Custodes narrative in of itself. I really am, but it isn't. It's far more cool when you have all of the Forge World stuff involved with it as well as one piece.
Yeah,
is my feelings on it. So it feels weird always to get a new book out from GW. Whereas Gene Stealer Cults, I'm genuinely very, very excited about because I think, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm kind of into the workers, like claiming back like the means of production and a bunch of other stuff.
I don't believe you,
Right.
Rob. I don't believe you. I've known you for 4 years. Fucking hell. Can't believe this.
I'm
as a
kinda
card-carrying
keen.
member of the Tory party, Rob, we don't believe.
I'm kind of keen.
We even had a Tory Rob emote, for fuck's sake.
I'm kind of keen for the working class boys. Like, I want them to be like beyond Dark Eldar broken. Again, if you guys haven't tuned into the 40k show before,
Same. I'm into it.
yeah, like I don't like the game is so dumb. Like it's top end competitive level, so we always want the next one to be like dumb broken. I want but I want it. Imagine just losing. This is the best bit about Gene Stealer Cults. They just got like drills and like, oh, what have you got? Oh, I've got like some dynamite. Like, okay. Like what? Like you're a miner in the 1800s in the West? Yeah,
Are you
like
saying they're a minor threat?
no, great band. Like they're just. How exciting are they? Aren't they great?
I just want them to be
Yeah,
better.
mate, I've got loads. I put a picture up on Twitter yesterday of my 100 and so Acolyte hybrids.
Oh god, those things.
Love
Yeah,
them.
not those.
Flashbacks. To
Yeah.
Not what you did.
Mate.
No, Tom. No. No.
Mate, this list, you guys
Oh.
look right.
Oh.
At
Put a
some
link in the
point,
chat.
we're
Put a
going to
link in the
stream a
chat.
game.
Put a link in the chat.
We are going to stream a game of 7th edition, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what this build did because it was the funniest shit you guys will ever see. It's going to be great.
No.
It's going to be so
All right,
good.
There's
You
the
guys
link.
will
I'm
not
gonna,
be
hold on.
prepared
I want to
for
show.
a million
I want to
Gene
show.
Stealer
I want to show
strategies,
the
anyway.
chat. Hold on.
And for context of my reaction, Tom brought
So,
these to Warhammer World.
for what it's worth,
8x4
For
table.
what it's worth, nothing is worth this, Tom.
Hey.
What is this? These are some of the most
Hey.
beautiful models in
no,
40k.
I need to let you know. But yeah, they look great. Apart from ones that aren't finished. But the ones that are finished look great. I've got a second tray of neophyte hybrids. It's about the same number of models.
It's disgusting. You're a disgusting. Can I tell you something? So, like, people already may know this, but like, or they may not know this. But I was a huge Gene Stealer Cult fan when the kits first
Yeah,
came out.
look at that.
I bought
Yeah.
all of them in multiples, right? And I had like all of it, and I was like, and I spent ages building them because they are not easy kits to build. I built so much of it. I had like hybrids, neophyte, I had everything in multiple sets. The first wave of Gene Stealer Cults, like all of it, maximum you could take. And then like I played it for like so much. I played like maybe like 30 games at the start of 8th edition, and I didn't win I didn't. What is it? It's not I didn't win one. I didn't come close to like getting past turn 2. It was awful. It was so bad. And then like I eventually sold it, which broke my heart. So I'm hyped for Gene Stealer Cults. I don't know if there's a scuttlebutt about whether or not they're good. I've heard Custodes are going to be fairly mid-tier. Is the general scuttlebutt. But like I don't know if there's anything about Gene Stealer Cults, but I really want them to be like gigafucked is what I want. Like I just want like just like, come on, John, get on board with this. All right,
I
fine.
don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like them to do their job competently and make the system just you add a new army back in, and it's not just another problem.
Well, what a great segue, John. Let's talk about it. Yeah? Right? Let's get involved in the conversation. Thanks to Vengeance for Sylvania for subscribing. Big love to you. I would love to get I haven't got my Gene Stealer Colts back. Nurgle Matthew.
You can borrow my army.
You pardon me?
You can play this army. You can play this army.
No, I don't even want to look at your army. It's disgusting. I don't even want to know it exists.
No, it actually looks good
No,
as well.
fuck
But
you,
guys
does
are
it
just
look
like-
good? No.
Yep.
Okay,
fine.
It'll look better when new Hobby Tom, because which Tom did that? Old War Crime Hobby Tom.
Yeah.
I mean, I painted it all in 2 weeks, but it still looks great.
It does not look great. What is your boundary for deciding it looks great?
I mean, I'm Hobby Tom now, and I'm telling you it looks great, so you have to trust
that's
me.
fair.
Okay.
If he says it enough, we'll believe him.
All right.
That's how it works.
I don't care if you believe me. I know it looks great. Fuck you guys.
Thank you to Fenemo Sco for subscribing. First time. What up? That's
got a
super
hype
nice of
train
you.
coming.
Let's go. Big shout out, chat. Thanks for being here. Okay, so let's get some context, shall we? Let's get some context. Here we go. And what's the time on this? 31 minutes, John, if you want to write it down.
All right, Dad.
So, the Gamers Survey. Now, this is really important.
There's a link. There you
This
go,
is
guys.
really important.
There's a link,
It's
chat.
the Gamers Survey. Every day, Warhammer 40,000 fans around the world get in touch to share their thoughts on the game. So we have decided to give you an official way to get your voice heard. Okay. Whether it's your
Imagine ever wanting to listen to you idiots.
Tom, don't be so negative. Just because they hide just because they hide the replies on Facebook posts and Twitter threads from their own customers about things doesn't mean they don't want to hear from us.
I can't tell if that says more about Games Workshop or more about the customers.
Great question. Whether it's your experience with your favorite codex, how the game plays right now, or ideas about what would be great to see in a future edition, we want to hear from you. Obviously, a new edition Warhammer 40,000 is still some years off, but we'd like to start early. Obviously,
Bollocks.
Okay. So I've already seen, like, Allspecs Tactics has already done a video on this, which made me fucking cry laugh earlier. It's like 10th edition .com. Which, number one, shout out to all of the YouTube thugs who fall for that clickbait, because you guys are legends in your own right. And big shout out.
I mean, did you fall for it, Rob? Did you fall
No,
for
I was
it?
just showing someone Allspecs Tactics. I was like, this guy makes.
Okay, dude.
This guy makes he makes some of the best content in 40k. Yeah,
Does he?
that's unlistenable.
Okay. Then.
I just can't watch it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, but I zone out.
If someone says to me, what's the best content in 40k, I'd probably say Allspecs Tactics. Yeah, and then I'd say I can't listen to it. Like, he's got all
It's
the
shipping
information
reports.
and I can't hear it.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't really watch the content of anyone who I don't think can teach me anything, and as a result, I watch more content.
That's the really good point about the content. He's not trying to. He's just relaying the information. It's fantastic. It's just data, man. Yeah, a bit of flavor, but mainly data. Yeah, where unlike this show, it's like all that is the ingredients to make your own pie. Whereas this is a pie someone has left out in the sun for way too long. Yeah, and maybe it's been got at by some animals.
It definitely has. I've seen the state of the Hydra homies. Okay. Definitely been at it. Okay.
Anyway, Allspecs is great. So I'm just putting it out there, right? Anyway, but he's put up a video saying 10th edition. Chat and also John and Tom. Obviously, a new edition of Warhammer 40,000 is still some years off. Do we think that's true or do we not think that's true? What do you think?
Define some years, as in like 0.6 years. You can, you know.
Okay.
Well,
whatever.
they've done it before,
Fuck
though,
it.
right? So 6th edition had a very short shelf life and just got reformatted into 7th edition.
It was like 2 years. Came out 2012.
Yeah.
7th edition came out 2014.
Yeah. So there is kind of examples of it happening before, and if they do enough changes but not too many changes, they could justify doing a launch box with another hardcover book that we could just put on our bookcases, right?
Nah. Just because I heard that Space Marines are coming out next year doesn't mean shit. John, doesn't mean
I mean, they come out
shit.
every year, Rob, so let's be honest.
That's true. That's true. They come out every year. All right. Anyway, so we need to get context for what the event is. Also, just big shout out to Circon and TKT in the chat. Also, first time chatter. I think I saw a minute. Gear Guts Mech Shop. Welcome to the crew. I'm also an orc player, so we're 4 orc players.
You're a theoretical orc player at the moment, though, right, Rob?
Yes, John. Because I have to build and paint the army, John. Okay. All right. To get on my back, I had to sell my other Ark army for rent. Now how do you feel? Now how do you feel that I had to sell it for rent during lockdown? During lockdown, John.
Because I still have my painted orc army because I got furloughed.
Fuck you, John. COVID really hurt some of us. Please like and subscribe. That would be really great if you could do that right now. Anyway. Whether you're a new gamer, you've been playing since box sets come with the cardboard dreadnought, or a lapsed fan of the 31st Millennium, we want your opinions. What do you love about Warhammer 40k? Blah, blah, blah. Take this survey and have your say on the future of Warhammer. So the important point is...
Nothing is fucking shit.
Okay, so let's talk about... so let's talk about the context. Before we take the survey, what do we think... the survey, or what have they told us the survey is going to do for us? What have they said?
Nothing.
John, what do you think?
So previously they've done these, and they've done that whole annual thing, and they've gone, guys, if you enter this survey and tell us some feedback, we'll put you in this competition to win some paints or something. This time there's no indication of anything. What do I get out of this? I'm guessing just the lovely satisfaction that 40k isn't as fucked. Maybe?
No, I mean, people just like to be helpful in this hobby, right? Like, I said some weird shit about, like, terror lore, and everyone in my comments was like, no, this is the actual lore, fucking, because they like to help.
Exactly.
They
like to be proven
just
right.
taking advantage of the goodwill of gamers.
So you think the survey is being, is Games Workshop have produced the survey, so their stated context, or their stated attempt, is to make the game of 40k better, not the lore, not the miniatures, the game better, would you say is the purpose? And so we're taking the survey because we're like, we'd like to help make 40k an even more fun game than it currently is in the future, is what we think they're trying to do. Yes or no?
I would hope it's not that. I would hope this is just a marketing exercise, because I really don't want Games Workshop to listen to the Peanut Gallery.
I want them to listen to the Peanut Gallery.
I absolutely do not want that.
Why? Why do you want ludicrous things to occur? Because ludicrous things are already occurring, but they're mundane.
We've already been through this, Rob. Like, you would love to see the game get more fucked because it's more entertaining, and you do that by listening to the Peanut Gallery.
No, the game is already fucked.
Qualified,
the game is fucked.
experienced
like,
people.
It's not my fault.
Yeah,
the game
I
is
would make it less fucked. You're only going to make it more fucked by listening to these
How
people.
can you make it more fucked than completely fucked?
I don't know, and I don't want to find out. I don't want to find out. Just leave it well alone.
Okay, fine.
The thing we're all...
The comments are going to hate me after this one, by the way, but I don't care. Like, I genuinely don't think that just listening to the average player base is going to improve the game.
But also, how many...
Because all of the comments, like, just before I finish,
Yeah,
you said, every single screenshot I've seen of someone who's posted this massive fuck off essay in the bottom section about, is there anything else you'd like us to know? Firstly, no one's reading that. Secondly, every single one that I've seen has said something about, like, digital rules, and then everything else I've disagreed with.
Okay, all right.
And a lot of them from people who quote themselves as an authority on the game. They don't even understand.
Why are you paraphrasing me? I said I know a lot about the game.
No, not you. Not you. But, like, yeah.
All right. Big shout out to Late Kid in the chat asking me about 30k and the Horus Heresy. I'm actually going to do a show about the Horus Heresy tomorrow.
Oh, please do.
So if you want to tune in...
Mate, that's like 7th edition. I'll play that.
Yeah.
Tune in tomorrow, Like, the rumours are... if everyone's listening, like, what the fuck are the rumours? But long story short, there are some pretty solid rumours out there. As I understand it, there's a leak somewhere out there that's got all of the 40k releases for the next year and a half, and as I understand it, that's pretty much spot on as a release schedule. as I understand it, from other sources. So thanks to Splunkin309. Thanks for donating 30 quid to the show. That's fucking great.
That's
very
generous.
generous. Thanks. That's so nice. So yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. It's not going to be a deep dive. It's just going to be we'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay, so big shout out everyone in the chat, by the way. Valrak has done a video on it. Tactical Tortoise have done videos on it. If you want to go and find those videos already. But as far as I understand, it's pretty confirmed that thing is coming out. Right. Okay. So let's go and do the survey and the peanut gallery thing. We'll come back to at some point.
Yeah.
When the last time you played Warhammer 40,000 earlier this year? So we're going to do it together as a group. As I understand it, if you click 2 or more years ago, it doesn't let you get any further in the thing. And I also can't. Can we find out why someone donated some money? Because it was super lovely of them, and I want to say thanks. So if anyone wants to, someone have a link to this 1.5 year release. It's somewhere, Circon. I don't know where it is. Like it's on the.
Someone put it up in the Discord. So if you're in the Honest Wargamer Discord,
do you want to try and find it, John?
Yeah. Because I started spreading it when I saw it as well.
Did you? maybe it's like a queue.
In the 40k channel, Rob. Do you want me to send them to you?
Just put it in the chat. Link it in the chat.
Oh, I can, can't I? Yeah. I can go open original.
Add least sporting game awards. Add least sporting awards to games and drop a banhammer for next event, says Splunkin309. Thanks, Splunkin. That's super nice of you for donating 30 quid. I don't know why you did, but huge love. Add least sporting awards to games. Let's talk about that for a moment before we do the quiz. Least sporting. John, Tom?
What was that? Sorry, I'm arguing with the chat.
It's okay. You can do it by talking. You don't have to chat. Yeah. Like, let's use the voice.
No, you guys were just going, and I wanted to go straight in.
So... I think that requires you to have a sporting vote as well, because that was one thing I noticed from Goonhammer's pack. They didn't actually have you didn't vote for best sports.
Okay.
So perhaps being sporting is not a priority in the average competitive player's mindset these days. They just want to dick kick and bring the broken army to beat people in with.
Has sporting got anything to do with the army you bring? I never have thought that bringing a dick-kicking list is unsporting.
But I can see how if you do get just beaten to a pulp without any competition, even if the person's lovely, you're going to get a bit prickly about it, right? There's that whole...
It's just boring, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like you're not actually
It could be the nicest player in the world, and you'd still feel like you're having a shit game, and that's not on your opponent. They if anything, if they're trying their hardest to be kind of friendly and amenable about it, it's almost kicking you a bit harder because just like they're saying, "Oh God, oh sorry," it's just that's worse. Just get it over and done with.
All right, yeah, I agree with you.
I don't know.
All right, at least sporting, I think, is a great idea. Like top dickhead award. Let's go.
I need one of those.
I've recently really got into the idea of bullying, but that was when I was really ill and feverish, so I don't really agree with that. So mainly because the Twitch chat bully me all the time, and I feel like if they're doing it to, like, it's like a cycle of violence. They do it to me, I feel I need to do it to them. Now it's just become a cycle. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. Love you, Twitch chat. Is the point anyway? So
right. I'm going to fill this question.
Okay, so we by the way, if you do 2 or more years ago, it immediately kicks you out of the survey.
What?
So it's quite an interesting thing. If you go onto all right, fine.
That's kind of
Let's go on to what they called Warhammer Community, the marketing department for Warcom team. So I'll show you guys on the screen. Give me a second. Where's the survey? Where's the survey link that they've done? Come on. Here we go. I'll show it on the screen for you guys. So, like, well, that was a quick one. First question was, when was your last game? Me, greater than 2 years ago. Second question, and why? Click some stuff which played a part. All right, thanks. And then kicks you out. And then it's just constantly. And it's quite funny reading all the people who are like, I can't believe it's only 2 questions. I'm like, well, because it doesn't really apply. Why do you stop playing? 2 questions in and it goes great survey.
Yeah,
it's because they're not letting people who haven't played in the past 2 years basically have a say on it, which I agree with. Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Okay, so why do you agree
Because
with
it's people who are currently playing the game. Like, ignoring the
it?
pandemic,
And why do you want to hear
because
from
there
them?
should be an option in there for, like, I haven't played because of the pandemic in 2 years, which should be there.
Mhm.
But other than that,
Yes.
like I don't want some chud from 4th edition being like,
Why do you not want to listen to the Shed from 4th edition, but you want to listen to the most recent guys? I'm not disagreeing with you.
I
I'm
don't think
just,
it's the most recent. I think it's currently involved.
Okay, why do you want to listen
Because
to
they're
those
the
guys?
people currently involved.
And buying stuff, more importantly.
No,
they're
nothing to do with like, hey, I want to listen to John. I want to listen to you and Tom's opinion on the state of current 40k. Yeah, because you've just been to a couple of tournaments together.
Yeah.
Far more than I want to listen to my own opinion about the current state of 40k, having not been to a couple of tournaments recently.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I feel you're more relevantly versed in where it's at the moment. That's what I mean. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Yes, good. That's why I was trying to get to.
good.
That's good.
Hey, it is in the chat. My 2-year prime anniversary. I just want to say fuck orcs. Love you all. Catch the pod later. Please do follow Innes Wilson's account. It's actually a subsidiary of the Honest
Guys,
Wargamer
can we get
Network.
a wah in the chat for Innes,
Yeah,
please?
it's a subsidiary.
Oh, I didn't mention that about Goonhammer as well.
What? You played Innes?
No, there was a guy that wa'd every game. I was like, I haven't heard that since 7th edition, and I think it should be banned from tournaments.
Wah's in the chat, please, for Innes. That'd be good. Right, how long have you been a Warhammer 40,000 player? 5 to 10 years for me. John?
15 to 20. Oh, John.
The top one.
20 plus
20
years.
plus.
Tom?
I like
Less than a year. Oh my word. 15 to 20.
Ooh. Is John our vet?
2nd edition, mate. Boom.
Fucking hell.
The living example that experience does not
It means
necessarily
nothing.
demonstrate.
This book is still the best book.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
All right. Do you attend Warhammer 40,000 gaming events and tournaments? Yes.
Rob, that's a no for you.
Fuck you.
Oh, he attends them. He's the one TOing them.
I've TO'd like 4 this year already.
Doesn't mean you need to know the game. You just need to have the tables.
That's why I come. There we go. Yes.
Right, okay.
Oh.
This is fucking mean. Which of the following ways to play do you play in the current edition of 40,000? Narrative, e.g. Crusade, which, as we've established, is the same as the sex tape. Casual matched.
Yep.
Competitive matched.
Oh, John,
John,
put those
put
away
those
before
away.
you embarrass yourself.
Mm.
Fucking hell.
I've got 4 of them, and
Yeah,
I'm getting
that's
another
right.
one this weekend, you pricks.
Okay, so competitive matched.
Fucking... Yes. I'm just putting that
Okay.
next.
Uh,
Do you most go...
right.
Touching
So,
on that, though,
do
that
you
is actually
most
a valid
commonly
thing,
use
right?
points or power level?
And this is the thing that I was going to touch on before.
Go on.
It's like there is a very vocal and smaller, potentially competitive scene,
Yeah.
and then there'll be a greater pile of people that buy the Crusade shit, literally play the power level stuff, but only play once every 6 months. And so those guys are also going to be commenting on this, and they're going to get a very weird mishmash, aren't they? Because your average Joe that buys his codex and then never looks at an FAQ, just plays the same guy every couple of months, will still fill out the survey if they can be bothered.
Okay, all right, let's take a moment. Let's take a moment and cycle backwards. Yeah, and I'm going to make a statement, and if you two agree, then let me know. And if you two disagree, then let me know. I think the general logical consensus is, from Wargaming, is that if the competitive game is more balanced and varied, yeah, then it's better for the casual player.
100%.
Yes.
Excellent. So we all agree that even though the competitive side might be a smaller community, yeah,
Completely.
right, maybe,
Yeah.
we
Maybe.
don't actually know, yeah, the fact that the game is more balanced for competitive players means that casual players will have more enjoyable games because the game won't seem, they won't understand why the fuck they're losing or winning. Like, they don't anyway, but you know what I
100%.
mean?
Okay. Also, I feel like there are two issues with that specifically. You can talk about balance as well, but a lot of people get the word balance confused with the word interaction, right?
Yeah.
If the game is more interactive at the competitive end as well, it means that the people in the middle end and the casual players have more to do in the game, rather than it just being a collection of things that happen and we don't really have control over
100%.
it.
Yeah.
It's not just about balance; it's about interactivity, and I think interactivity is actually far more important than balance. And actually, I brought up Stevie of Wonder has brought up Dota 2 already, and I brought it up earlier. I was talking with a guy on Twitter earlier who was saying, I want to see all the lower level codexes boosted up to the level of Drukhari and Admech. And I'm like, dude, if every single faction can table someone turn one, it's going to be a balanced game, but it's not going to be fun. It's turn based at the end of the day. There's no other component. So I'd rather see an interactive game and a balanced.
I'm with you 100%.
So I'd like to see.
I'm 100%. And that interactivity is needed. You need to have some level of balance between all of the armies and units so that there's more interactivity, right? Effectively. Like, so yeah, okay, good. Because I just think, because some people fall down on that. Some people fall down that on a lot. They're like, there's a difference between casual and competitive gamers, and competitive gamers ruin it. And I'm like, no, competitive gamers show that it's broken, and then those are the people you should be thanking to help you fix it. Because then the casual gamers could be like, cool. Like, because some casual gamer will love buying loads of cars for orcs. They'll be like, this is great. Like, this is great. Like, I love this. Yeah? And then all of his mates
it just
are
happens
like,
to table everything.
yeah, all of his mates are just like, stop drop kicking me. This sucks. Right? Anyway.
Yeah.
And that does happen.
Huh?
That does happen because especially when Games Workshop have pushed this whole 400 points, 1,000 points, 2,000 points as other options, the game doesn't necessarily scale correctly.
Do you guys remember that box set they released for the Orc Codex in 8th edition, full of cars?
Yeah.
Speed
Freaks.
And some like Fluff Bunny has just turned up with that. It's like, oh yeah, I bought this box because I thought it'd be really cool just to run like a wacky racers army. It's so easy to imagine.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, do you most commonly use points, power level, or neither? Points. Okay, right.
Yeah, fine. This question's hilarious, by the way. To see this
Oh
one.
my god. What do you enjoy about the Warhammer 40,000 game? The lore and setting,
Nothing.
planning my army, seeing my army in action, the tactical challenge, winning.
I would enjoy that if that was a
Don't
thing.
laugh at the tactical challenge, okay?
I'm going to tick it. Fuck you guys.
Winning.
Yes.
Creating cinematic moments, learning new rules, hanging out with friends, meeting new people, or doing some fun with my miniatures. This is quite an interesting one. Can you select the top 3? Oh, you get to choose 3. That's great. John, what are you going to choose?
I think, if I was being perfectly honest, winning is important to some extent because I want to. If I'm playing the game to my best of my ability, I want to win.
Yep.
And I don't mean that as a I got to dick kick you. Seeing my army in action, I really enjoy because I've put the effort in, get to put it on the table, and then doing something fun with them. So tournaments or whatever, if I end up doing a crusade, it can be a good way of using them, but also at a tournament is really fun. Use of my models other than just sitting in a cabinet. So,
okay, all right, Tom, where are you at?
So I'm gonna go for ones I didn't pick. So I didn't pick the lore and the setting, or seeing my army in action because my armies all look shit.
you do not.
I didn't put winning either, because I like trying to win more than the actual winning. Right? It's the thrill of the chase. So I actually put the tactical challenge because it sets me up quite nicely for saying that I hate the game later. Because there is no tactical challenge. Learning new rules, we all know I don't do that. Creating cinematic moments, nah. Meeting new people, no thank you. I've seen all of you.
All right, that's fair.
No thank you. And then doing something fun with my miniatures. I mean, I could do that in privacy of my own room, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
So
that's a lot of information.
planning my army, the tactical challenge, and hanging out with friends. Planning my army because I get to enjoy something without actually playing Warhammer.
Okay. All right, that's fair.
Cheers.
I've chosen the lore and the setting because I do actually like the lore and setting. I like the setting. I feel like the lore that pushes through the setting is actually fairly weak, but I do enjoy the setting at least. I chose the tactical challenge, and I think this is the thing that I'm most turned off by in 40k. I was in 8th edition, and 9th edition it feels the same. And my reason for that is because I do like the idea of tactical war games, i.e., like a game that I play with my friends where I'm thinking and I'm like I like the idea of it, but it isn't actually in existence in the moment necessarily. Maybe that's only at top end 40k. Like maybe I could be still playing some tactical games. But my point is, I would like the tactical challenge if it existed, if that makes sense. Like.
Rob, I've also amended mine and also ticked winning because Neil's pointed out to me that you can select more or less than 3 options.
Unless you select them all.
You what?
It lets you select them all.
Oh,
It lets
wow.
you select as many as you want.
That's quite good though, because
So,
that'll show you which
I
people.
ticked winning because I
That's
thought
the
it'd be
min
funny.
maxes right there, and I've obviously put.
Mate, I'm winning by
gotta
breaking the
break the
survey, just
system
like I broke the
immediately.
game.
And I've chosen hanging out with friends because that's what Warhammer is about, literally hanging out with people. So,
Yeah, 100%.
please select
Thanks.
which option best describes your response to this statement. I play to win. Strongly agree, neither agree or disagree, or strongly disagree. Strongly agree for me. John.
I think it's strongly agree, but kind of with the caveat, like Tom said, like to me, I want to win, but just win, and it'd be like almost to the last roll type of situation, rather than just picking someone apart with no.
I'd rather have like a close game where we both play well.
Exactly.
I enjoy more about I want to push the game to the limit.
Yeah.
Than anything else. I like the punditry kind of side of it. So I've actually ticked agree because strongly agree implies it's the most important thing for me. Whereas I am playing to win, obviously, because I'm not playing to fucking lose, am I? Fucking.
Well, then
idiot.
isn't that just an affirmation of I play to win? Like the caveat.
I don't know if strongly agree has an implication, but it's the most important thing to me. Where it isn't the most important thing, but I will do
I think
it.
it's just, do I play to win, yes or no? And you obviously I understand there's some nuance in there.
But then why is there a sliding scale?
Oh, because they're idiots, and it's a stupid quiz.
Yes.
So
Because an intern's filled out a survey monkey and then sent it to everyone.
Yeah.
all right, so we'll move on from that. You obviously play
that's
to
great.
win, but that doesn't mean that that's I think that's the worst part, right? Especially from certain sections of the community, they're like, wait, you're playing to win the game. I'm like, yes, I'm playing to win a game, and that's fine. But anyway, that doesn't mean that you're like a bad person. It's weird. Where have you shopped in the past for Warhammer products? Tick all that apply. I notice Russia isn't on here, which is rude.
Or China. Weird, man.
You are?
So weird. No China either.
No China either. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, they buy the stuff in China. What, we can't buy the stuff in China? That's hypocritical. Yeah?
Yeah, it sounds like a double standard
That's a
to me.
double
that's
standard
actually-
in my
Oh.
opinion. Right, okay, so talk to me. Games Workshop website, Tom?
I ticked Games Workshop website, Games Workshop Warhammer store, and other gaming shops, aka Element Games.
I only do other gaming shops and other online websites for me.
Of course.
What about you, John?
It was just the others because I get it cheaper if I don't buy it from Games Workshop directly.
Okay.
Because I buy it from Games Workshop directly, indirectly.
Okay, now we got a bunch of questions. Please set your response to the following statements. It's easy to get started with Warhammer 40,000. Strongly agree, neither agree or disagree, or strongly agree, disagree. Tom, it's easy to get started with Warhammer 40,000.
Strongly disagree. I don't even know how to write a fucking list, and I've been playing this thing for 20 years.
John,
I actually think it's an agree for me because to get into
You're
it,
mad.
Just to literally go, I want to play
Oh.
Warhammer. You buy one of these 3 boxes that are not really fit for purpose, but that is your entry.
Well, there you are.
But that's the point. Like,
Well, it's easy because you buy this crap box.
Yeah, but
I
that's
think
not
what
fit for
he's
purpose.
saying is,
little
Tom,
Jimmy
is
comes in and buys 1 box, and it doesn't matter what's in it. He wants to start Warhammer, so he buys the Space Marines and the Necrons just to give.
Yeah. Okay. How did we define getting started?
yeah,
with
that's the
Warhammer
point.
40K?
That's the point. I think you and
that's
me.
how I took it.
I think you and me think starting 40k is playing an event of playing 40k at an
Or
event,
playing a game, or just playing a game,
or even
Yeah.
playing a game to some skill level, right?
Yeah.
But what John's saying is it easy to get started with Warhammer 40,000? Like, it's fucking super easy. Listen, all you have to do is buy any box of Warhammer 40k, go online and bitch that it's cost too many points, and you're in the hobby. You're in. Like, you're in 40k, I would say.
Or school clubs, I suppose. There's that kind of. But this is me looking completely at a different angle on it, isn't it? So
Yeah. I would personally, though, because I'm defining what is easy to get started with, I would say I think 40k is far too complicated. I think it's far too top heavy. I think it's far too much junk. I think
it's hard to get into, but easy to master.
Yeah.
I think. Like, it's complicated, but in a really bad way.
Yes.
I had the
Like
same problems with Age of Sigmar. Buying a battle tome, it being in its own kind of layout and kind of lingo to how to do it. I was like, I don't know how to approach this. So it's the same with the codex, right? You pick up a book and you're like, where do I start with this?
I mean, the worst part, can we talk about this for a moment? The worst part is if you're new, you buy a codex, and then you read through all the story and stuff, and you're like, oh, there's not lots of that in here. We'll ignore that part, right? Then you go past that bit, and you get to the rules, and then you're like, oh, okay. And then it says Crusade. And you're like,
Fuck.
do I need to read this before I read the data sheets? You don't know. You're new. So you read an additional 20 pages of what is frankly rubbish before you get to anything that's relevant. It's madness. I also saw someone in the chat earlier say, which I think is fair, why isn't there like a stripped down version of 40k? Like super stripped down.
Like Football Manager Touch.
Yeah, sure. Whatever that is.
There you go.
What's
Yeah.
that?
So when you buy Football Manager on Steam, it prides itself on being this super complicated, in-depth football management game. And when you buy it, you get 2 games. You get Football Manager Touch and Football Manager. Football Manager Touch is basically the same game, but with a lot of the other shit, like press conferences and shit, stripped out.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, why isn't that in there? Like, that should be the other thing. Anyway, I put strongly disagree, is what I'm going to say. But I understand your point, John, and I think your point is your point is a really good point.
And the 2 bottom versions of those intro boxes aren't the full rules. They are intentionally cut down. And they don't really market that that's the case either, which is in itself criminal.
So what, you think that's just the rules? You don't know you have to learn.
I'm playing the rules. What are these stratagem things you keep talking about? That's weird.
What? All right, okay, next one. I like the level of complexity in Warhammer 40,000. John, I'll start with you.
I disagree.
Why?
Because I like complexity, but not needless complexity.
Or complexity in the wrong place, yes.
So to me, it's like having something that adds kind of depth to it as a game would be great, but I don't feel there's that depth. It becomes just a case of efficiencies as it stands.
Okay. Tom?
I also put disagree for exactly the same reasons.
And I put...
The level is fine, it's just in the
And I
wrong
put
place.
strongly disagree for the same reasons. The rules of Warhammer 40,000 are easy to learn. Tom, let's start with you.
I put I don't know because I don't learn the rules. I just make it up as I go along. And like people think this is a meme, and like when I responded to like Tanya on Twitter the other day, she thought I was just like, oh, like memeing us. But I genuinely don't know the rules. I just assume this thing does this thing. I move my stuff, I shoot my stuff, I fight my stuff.
My favorite story ever is Tom coming third at or fourth or something at one of the LGTs a few years ago.
I've done both of those things.
And then finding out later on stream as we were talking to him that strategy he'd been using wasn't the 2 CP he thought, but 1 CP, and he'd been intentionally hurting himself for an entire tournament, which was very fun.
Oh, that was the one I came third at.
Yeah. All right, John, what about you?
I resprayed it.
I don't think I disagree with this one because I think it gives the impression that it's simple with how they lay it out, but then actually trying to play a game of 40k is horrendously complicated from the get-go.
Tis.
Because then you start putting things like terrain on the table, and you're like, what kind of terrain is that? And you're like, well, I don't know, that's a shoebox we're using.
Is there even, as of yet, produced by Games Workshop, a set of terrain maps? I suppose there is from the GT series?
Yeah, but the ones that they put on the community page don't look the same as the ones they actually
used to the GT series. Okay, but they're not in the book, is the point, right? They're not like, here's the map, play your game. Okay, I would say strongly disagree that the rules are easy to learn, personally. I wouldn't want to change anything about the current game. Strongly agree. Strongly agree.
No, I strongly disagree, Rob. You wouldn't change anything.
I know what I'm saying, Tom.
You want it to be the same as it currently...
Or worse.
I thought you wanted to listen to the peanut gallery and make it worse.
Rob wants to offer people eggs in this trying time.
There was last year during COVID. There was, I think it was in Brazil. It was either in Brazil or it was somewhere in the world. So there was some protests, right? And everyone was protesting. And then as people were throwing rocks and there was tear gas and everything, someone was just playing the fucking what's it called? Saxophone. He was like, just playing the saxophone while everything was happening. That's me in 40k right now. I'm just like, let's play some tunes, boys. Let's go. This is great fun. But anyway, what's your serious thought about changing stuff, Tom? Yes or no?
It's fucking shit. Yeah, fucking blow it all up, make a new game. I don't know. I don't care. I've got like hundreds of pounds of books down there. Just blow it up. Fuck it.
Blow it
don't
up.
care.
John?
Blow it up.
I think they could just start again. Seriously, 8th edition felt like it was a good solution for about 5 minutes.
No, it didn't. 8th edition was fucking shit as well.
I played a
It
couple.
wasn't
of
as
games and
shit
went,
as this.
Yeah, it took away a lot of what was cool. But
Do you not remember Yannari? Do you not remember?
yeah, but I'm looking
fucking
at it
Eldar
from
Plains?
right at the
Do
beginning.
you not remember Space Marines? Do you not remember how boring the game was?
Oh, I do, Tom. I try not to remember, and that's
No,
why
no,
I'm
no.
just
It wasn't as bad as this, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
same shit, different day, isn't it? Really?
Oh, yeah, you like Index 8 died, and I hope you like Malefic Lords and Storm
I
Ravens.
liked Index 8. You could balance
Flying
off
high,
indexes. Like,
What you're saying is
Yeah,
no
you could.
stratagems.
In theory, sure. Yeah.
yeah, you could balance off indexes. Right. Okay. How would you describe the 40k? By the way, I think that's a general consensus that we'd all like to see 40k change in some way. Thanks, Rockets, for resubscribing. Obviously,
182.
if you're
What
watching
great
back on YouTube, leave your comments below on how you'd like to see it change. Don't forget to hit subscribe.
Hey.
If you don't, you're a monster.
The bell.
This question.
How would you describe?
There are no bad options.
How would you describe the 40k rules? Select the top 3. Okay.
There are only 2 bad options.
There are only 2 bad options. Okay, let's go through them. Simple, which is a compliment, I think, to the rule set. Yeah.
Oh, complicated. Sorry,
Complicated, which I think is a negative.
In fact-
Well written is a positive. So, so what is it? 2-1 so far. Hard to understand is a negative. So 2-2. Too many rules is a negative. So 3-2. Not enough rules, I would see as a negative. 4-2. Suitable for people starting out is probably a positive. So 4-3. Suitable for expert players is probably a positive, so 4-4.
Yeah, it's definitely a positive.
Yeah, suitable for everyone, 4-5. Fun, 4-6. Thematic, 4-7. Intuitive, 4-8. Balanced, 4-9. And I don't know.
But if I'm looking at this from my perspective, I can't click complicated because
Because you don't know the rules.
it's complicated and hard to because complicated and hard to understand are like
The same.
complicated could be seen as a positive or a negative. Yeah, but it's also the same, right? Hard to understand is just complicated, but with extra steps to infer that it's a negative.
I'm gonna go. I've put in. I think complicated and hard to understand is fair. Like,
I've put hard to understand, too many rules, and don't know because I'm not clicking any of the other
all right,
options.
fair enough. Fair enough. What do you think, John?
I think the 3 you've ticked are probably the ones I'd go for.
What, complicated, hard to understand, and too many rules?
Yeah. But on the flip side, I still think they're simple in the wrong places at times.
Yeah, like transhuman is the one that gets me. Why is it everywhere? Like, it's very simple.
Why isn't it just a core stratagem then?
Just bring back USRs.
Yeah.
Just bring back USRs.
Like,
Just have fucking transhuman called like iron fucking livingness or some shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then just say, if you use a stratagem, it gives you iron livingness. These what the Terminators called for Dark Angel Scribo? Deathwing.
Deathwing Knights.
These guys have iron livingness or whatever the fuck. I
yeah,
don't know.
iron livingness, damn.
I don't fucking. You put you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Come
so
on.
you give them a
Like-
term. So a USR, just for people that weren't here in the golden era of 7th edition.
It
where
was
basically you
not
had
a
things
golden
like-
era. It was a
That
time
was called
of fucking
sarcasm.
horror.
So the reason why everyone calls an after damage save a feel no pain is because it was called feel no pain, and it was on a whatever roll you'd shrug off the wound, and it was because it was called feel no
Iron
pain.
balls is what
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Like that.
it made sense because you had a page and a half of little phrases that you needed to refer to go, oh, what's this guy do? But it was there rather than it being on each data sheet. So
By the way, there's quite a few people on Twitter who are kicking off about this survey. I'm not someone who either produces surveys or really takes parts in surveys, but as I understand it, it's not
Are there?
well
Where are
done.
these people?
Huh?
Where are these people? Have I blocked everyone on
I hope
Twitter?
Right. What is your
Probably.
experience? What is your experience of making a battle-forged army? Select the top 3. The options
Oh,
are
here we go.
simple, complicated, hard to understand, too many rules, not enough rules, suitable for people starting out, suitable for expert players, suitable for everyone, fun, thematic, intuitive. I've never made one.
Does I've never made one kick you back out the survey?
Maybe.
That's suggested.
I'm not doing it because we're too far in.
I've done complicated, hard to understand, too many rules. Bang, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys, listen. Cover me for 1 minute. Talk amongst yourselves and talk to the chat about anything. Chat, you got a 2-minute break to talk to John and Tom about everything.
Yeah. So maybe if
Scrivo, how was your Battle of Britain experience?
for Battle of Britain, it was really
Yeah,
good
go for
fun. So I know that when we were talking about this 2 weeks ago, I had to dash to the hospital. But yeah, it was
You did.
it was really good. My takeaway from it wasn't about.
So can you explain to the chat what Battle of Britain was?
Battle of Britain was essentially teams from England, Wales, and Scotland. They had teams that were kind of previous team members, current team members, and then potential hopefuls. So it was a way of kind of gauging how people interacted with a team, worked with a team, competently played the game, all these different variables that would be kind of nice to see in person. So we all went up to Glasshammer in Telford. There was 4 English teams, was it?
4 English teams if you include the Manchester team, yeah.
Yeah. 3 or 4 Welsh teams, and then the same.
3 Welsh teams,
It was
and then
3
3
Scottish
teams. Yeah.
Really nice kind of environment to kind of cut my teeth in for a team game. I've never really played in a team event. I've watched a lot, obviously doing all the Super Series stuff, so it was kind of cool to give it a go. I took orcs without really much kind of research into the orc codex, kind of outside of kind of knowing what people were taking to events and stuff. So it was a nice challenge for me to kind of take a list, give it a go, and see what it was like, but also to see how it paired into lists people would take to team events, because it gave me an appreciation that you can often bring a list that's kind of designed just to do a specific thing really well, rather than having to worry about all-comer lists. That was my kind of takeaway from it. That you could be like, you could be put forward to be. So a good example is Manny was there with the Orc Buggy spam list, and it was very much, you knew that was going to come up. So it's how you tactically would then position your matchups to kind of either negate that,
Did tank it,
or just, if you knew it was going to be a shit game, throw something that couldn't be utilized elsewhere and make the most of it. And it was interesting to see that kind of play through and the context. And it was nice as well for me, because I've been in the Wales kind of adjacent chat for probably 2 years. And it's nice to actually meet all the guys and kind of get my head around it. And it was, I think, to me, the most enjoyable bit of it was the camaraderie element of kind of like being with these other guys, actually feeling like a team.
Yeah, 100%.
And even though my games weren't necessarily going as well as they could have been potentially if I'd been a bit more prepped, I think the fact that our first round we won it because of a 2-point difference, and I managed to get an 18-2, so I scored 2 points. That tipped us to be the winners of that round, and having that actual ability to cause the actual team's result to change one way or the other was really quite fun, and it felt like there was still something to play for even if I was going to lose. And it was nice that I could be like, cool, I'm losing, but if I score enough points, it keeps us in the game. And that's kind of fun. And I didn't quite appreciate that until I actually played it, I think. That was the big...
I mean, you got bust a few times, right? Because I'm just pulling up the 20 now. So you played James Wilson, who comes to a lot of our events. Then you played James Ramsey, Jim Wakefield, Innes Wilson, and Matt Robertson.
I played some great players, and it was some rough games, but they were such fun games that I didn't mind. I was getting my face smashed into the ground because I was learning a lot as well. I was seeing how they were using their armies. Like, I've got a friend locally, Martin, that plays Sisters, and I was actually watching Robbo play, and I was like, I'm seeing so many things that I hadn't even considered that could be done with this army. How he was approaching kind of moving things, kind of in the kind of the tempered kind of, not just shooting his load and not just holding back too much. It was just seeing when was the right times, and learning that sort of stuff from the greats is kind of a good thing to watch, I think.
Yeah. So what was your experience of the pairings process, and how did it go?
So for round 5, I was the chap doing the pairings for my team, and
Whoa. Okay.
So I went right in the deep end. So
why were you doing the pairings?
so
How
we,
did
we
that
kind
happen?
of basically Adam, our captain, was very much like, who wants to give it a go? And I was like, yeah, I may as well try it. And they were sat there with me. It wasn't in isolation, but it was just nice to kind of.
Okay.
We were kind of looking at it beforehand. We'd obviously done our.
So were you kind of like sat there with them as they did the pairings, or were you actually
I was the
making the
one
decisions?
making the decisions, but I was kind of.
No,
nice.
shit, nice.
Kind of. It was nice to kind of do it and just see. So it's like that's why I ended up with Matt Robbo, so against his sisters, because we knew it wasn't going to be a great matchup for other lists.
Players,
So it's just a nice opportunity to kind of like.
So you just bust yourself.
Bust myself because I was like, I'll take one for the team. I don't mind, and it was good fun in that respect. So. But the pairings bit I found very interesting because I think you can never do too much prep for it. Like I noticed when you were talking about yours, and your matrix went into actually pre-scoring your stuff. We did it on the fly on the day. Like, I think that'll be a 2, or I think that'll be a 3. It was kind of interesting that you couldn't do so much more prep than we did. But that was my takeaway from it anyway. So, and Rob's back.
Hello, back from the doctors.
Did you wash your hands?
Always 30 seconds, front and back. But thankfully, I went to a proper university where they taught me not to piss on my hands. Right, so let's follow on. What is the experience of making a battle-forged army? What have you guys put for this?
I put all the shit ones.
Okay, what?
I can't remember. I've skipped past it now. I thought we did it. Complicated, hard to understand, and too many
What do you
rules.
think, John?
And I wanted to put simple, but I couldn't type afterwards because I'm using BattleScribe.
But it's true. I mean, even BattleScribe isn't like.
It's still a pain in the ass when you look at it. Like to build a list, you don't go right. I'm just going to take these 4 units. Like now, I've got to put them into a random detachment. Which one do I have? Which one gives me CP back if my warlord's in it? Oh, I don't know. Oh, have I got enough troops? Oh no, I need more elite slots. Oh, this is just it's too much.
Yeah.
And that's just before you even turn up, before you've even packed your army.
Yes. Agreed. Yeah. Anyway.
Panicking already. Oh.
So, yeah, I agree with all of that. I think it's not that easy to put together. Does anyone know why we ever stopped using the force organization chart? I don't know why detachments are even really a thing. Not to be a dick about it. Like, truthfully, I really don't understand what the point of a detachment is. Like, honestly, from like a list building perspective, like, what does it really even fucking do? Like,
It's meant to make your list design process more dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it does that?
Yeah. I mean, it's more dynamic than the old CAD.
Yeah, the illusion of choice.
It also means you can fit more planes into your army.
So Age of Sigmar's got a system where you're allowed 6 characters max. Yeah, you have to have 3 troops, and then it has a limit on monsters. On monsters, and it has a limit on artillery. I don't think that would be too bad for 40k. Like, truthfully, like, because it's just like I have to hit requirements and everything else is free reign. Seems much better than, because people still jank the detachment system pretty heavily, right?
That's the problem, right? So the Orc buggy list wouldn't work in that situation because you could only have 3 slots of fast attack, for example.
In the old one,
in the old one,
yeah,
it would limit you. And like, say if it's that layout and it had say 1 or 2 planes, you can only have 1 or 2 planes. You can't have 6.
So do you think detachments really just produce the illusion of choice as opposed to actually produce any dynamic choice at all? What do you think?
No, I think they do provide some choice. All right, it's better than beforehand where you just be stuck with the maximum of 3 fast attacks. At least
do you think that there is probably a better system?
Army. Yeah, I'm sure there is a better system, but I don't know. I need to think about it.
That's fair.
So I think there's probably a more elegant solution, but I think it gives more freedom, but creates just as many problems by giving that freedom. I think.
Can I tell you what I don't like at all? Is that you have different sub-factions from the same army. Like, you have...
Yeah, okay.
I think if you're playing a sub-faction for an army, all of your detachments should be that sub-faction. And, like, or, like, the whole... I think it's weird to have the different detachment. Like, I know for my orcs, like, I'm going to do one bit's going to be different because it's got the different bonuses and it's going to be the other bit. Like, It just means you min max. Even like I don't like that. I personally don't think that's particularly good. Myself. Okay, so that's this building. What type of mission do you use in your match play games? GT mission packs, Eternal War, event-specific missions, or other. Interesting. Don't we all just do GT mission packs?
GT. Even a pickup
And
Reddit
event
game.
specific, because sometimes you have modified versions of the GT mission packs, for example, when you're doing a 20-0 system.
Oh yeah, I get what you mean. But isn't that's got
Yeah.
nothing to do with how like the overall game is scored? Like what your score is, what's done with your score afterwards, right?
Okay, then let's take another one. Any event using the WTC FAQ.
Okay. But what would that go into there? Event-specific missions.
Event-specific missions. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm just ticking both of
Oh,
those.
can you tick both? Perfect.
Yep.
If playing match play, what is the typical?
Have I crashed it?
If playing match play, what is the typical size of your army? 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Other, I don't play match games. John, obviously we're all clicking 2,000 points.
It's all Strike Force.
Yeah, it's all Strike Force. I mean,
Using the lingo.
what's the point of the question? Like, do they think that there's an unspoken tournament scene of gamers who are playing 1,000 points? Like,
Who they want to hear from the 500-point players?
Thing is
They
that
just take more Tarian.
they're putting in all of their all these narrative books, so the Warzone books and in the Crusade books, they're actively putting in missions for 3 sizes a game. So they're creating 3 times the amount of missions. Perhaps this is their way of saying, is anyone actually fucking bothering with them?
that's my point. Like, both Kelbar and Neil in the chat, by the way, both saying that they're locally playing 1,500 points. I actually think 1,500 points would be better. I think smaller games would be better overall. They'd be shorter. I think that'd be good. Hermanista says there's that 1,000 point tournament scene in France. There is. So I think that's interesting. I don't hate the idea of smaller games, like 1,500 point games at all. I actually think it's the right way to play, personally.
It's how we played in 3rd edition.
Huh?
It's how we played in 3rd edition, and it worked fine then.
I just think it's less stuff.
It's how we played in 5th and 6th edition.
Yeah.
Until we start moving to 1650, 1750, and then 1850.
Because I think 1750 doesn't cut enough
Away.
fat away that you still get to have some of that horrible competitiveness that you then would have to make choices if it's at 1,500.
Yeah. Okay. With my mates, we play 1,500 cut down on all the option paralysis. So many fucking rules, says Sin in the chat. McWerp says 1,500 points or smaller just exacerbate the issue with the undercosted data sheets, which I can understand as well. I'm not saying that the game scales well, but I think smaller would be better. And then you would have a 1,500 point meta at least. Do you usually use detachments from different factions in your army? John?
So faction, not sub-faction. So that means souping.
Yeah.
So mixing in, say, Guard and Custodes. Never. I haven't done that since the beginning of 8th. In 9th, I just don't feel I gain anything out of it.
Yeah. Tom?
Yeah, but yes, I do it repeatedly.
Okay.
But is that with old books, Tom, or with 9th books?
I do it with Drakari and Eldar.
Cool. That's what I wanted to say.
I literally did it 2 months
Does it make a
ago.
difference? Yeah, just whether it made a difference or not, but I don't think it does really, does
Yeah.
it? So.
Okay. I've put no. What is your view of the GT mission pack? Select the top 3. Oh boy.
There we go.
Simple, complicated, well written, hard to understand, too many rules, not enough rules, suitable for people starting out, suitable for expert players, suitable for everyone, fun, thematic, intuitive, I don't know. Thanks, Zarson, for subscribing first time. Woohoo! First time in the chat. Let's go. What do you think about, what is your view on the GT mission pack? What do you reckon, John?
Simple, but not as a positive, because it is essentially whether you're scoring, holding 1, 2 more, or 2, 3 on more. That is really the variation, and then the deployment maps.
So that
Outside of that, the secondaries that you get from them, I think there's only 2 that ever get taken, and they only get taken because they're basically 3 points. So to me, that just suggests they're 2.
so simple but bad.
Yeah, simple in a bad way. I think they're not enough rules as a result.
It's a good argument.
If that makes
Tom, throw me.
because I think there isn't the variation as a result. It's just deployment maps essentially.
Tom, throw me an idea out.
I basically the same. I clicked simple and suitable for people starting out. #noobs, and then that's all. I didn't click anything else. I'll just click 2 because I can get away with that because the survey doesn't work properly.
So we don't think there's too many rules.
I think
What, in the mission pack?
Well, I just more mean like the additional secondaries and stuff. I guess in the mission pack, no, there isn't. Okay, fair enough.
the one rule that always gets missed, though, for your average Joe, is that you can walk off the objectives. They don't clearly flag post that.
Tag and
it's in
hold.
a weird little paragraph. Yeah.
Oh, the next one's an interesting question.
Okay, all right, we'll skip this one. What is your experience of stratagems? Worst bit in the game, in my opinion.
Oh,
Select the top 3. The options are fun, unfun, too numerous, not enough choice, complicated, simple, thematic, a useful game mechanic. Okay, I'm going to start with me, as you guys can think about it. I've put unfun. I think it's the worst thing. I really am a fan of baking the rules into the data sheets. So then if I want to bring new rules into the game, I bring a new unit in. There's the new rule on the unit, and then I take the unit out. That's fun. I think there are too many as well. They're too numerous. I think there are too many, especially as half of them don't get used at all. And the ones that are used repeatedly and often are the issue in the game. And then complicated. I only put complicated as another negative, so I could just make sure that they know I really fucking hate stratagems. That's what it is. Turned off my friends from starting the game, says Zarson919. Congratulations, big love to you. Turned off my friends from starting.
I mean, if it gets better, I'd love them to play it. But at the same time, right now, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say, I think the game's in a great spot right now and it's particularly enjoyable, especially when this hobby is so expensive as it is, right? If I don't believe it's an enjoyable or fun experience at the minute, I think it's probably best to go and play something else for now, right? But I'm not going to pretend that it's in a great spot just because, someone would like it to be, right? You know what I mean?
I think stratagems are the worst part. I think because basically, in my opinion, so if I can just go for one on a minute, like the game to me is a game of story, right? Like it's the stories and the lore that encompasses the miniatures. So sometimes I see a miniature and I'm like, that miniature's amazing. I want to know what the story is of the miniature. Or sometimes I hear some kick-ass lore and then I want to get the miniature. Either one, right? There's some interplay between it. But what's interesting about stratagems is a stratagem is sometimes linked to a miniature, which is fine. Yeah, like this particular plane does this with a stratagem, or this combat unit does this with a stratagem, whatever the situation, right? So they're kind of linked. But the stratagems are completely removed from the bit that I'm most invested in, which is the miniatures, the game state, and the story. They're just this other thing that come from nowhere, that are a subsidiary. Like, I don't like Underworlds because of the fucking cards. Yeah, like I don't want that. Like you want the dudes to have the rules, right? The dudes themselves. Yeah. And I think if you took stratagems, or if you give basically something esque to a stratagem and gave it to every unit, so that like it's on their thing, I think it's, and also they don't balance well because they're like shoot twice, and they're like, oh no, not that unit. We didn't mean that. Fuck, don't do that to that unit. That's too good. So I don't like that at all. John, what do you think?
So touched on what you said, I agree. So a good example is the knob on Smasher Squig in the Orc Codex has a specific ability that's baked into the data sheet where you finish a charge, you roll 5 dice, does mortal wounds. There's a stratagem specifically for if you kill that unit that then means it can charge again. Why isn't that just on the data sheet and says to do this this ability, it will cost you one of your CP? Then you don't need to have it on another page. It's there and you never need to worry about it.
Yeah, because if you're not taking that unit... I just think unit abilities are the way to go. Like, it makes so much sense from like a DLC perspective. I want to add in combat unit X. I buy it, it does some things, and then I enact it in the tabletop. But if I never bring it, I never even have to learn its rules. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, because...
Oh, sorry, John.
Here comes the controversial spicy take. Okay. I ticked a useful game mechanic. And here's why. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think there are problems with stratagems. There obviously are. But I think the idea that my opponent can do something, and then I have the ability to react with something that my unit doesn't always do, but I have the opportunity or the option to do something at the expense of something else later on in the game, is a good one. Is it implemented well? No, because with the amount of CP in the game right now, if I have one stratagem that's super useful, I just do it all the time anyway, and it might as well be a USR, right? So too numerous,
similarly,
absolutely. Too baked in,
not
absolutely.
to cut you off, I'd like to hear the rest of it. But similarly, if you have a
No,
stratagem
absolutely,
that's
you go for it, yeah.
useless, it never sees the light of day.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I would rather see a stratagem system whereby people have like 3 or 4 CP max, okay? And then they have a choice between, oh, this stratagem costs 1 CP or 1 CP or 2 CP. And if I do that, I am never going to be able to do that again for the rest of the game, right? So I could make a play here that forces you to do that, but then you know you can't do it later on.
But the thing that
Whereas because of the amount of CP in the game,
thing that gets me is that's an overarching like card mechanic that you and me are playing that has got little to do with them dudes on the tabletop. And what I would think, also the units are more bland because they don't necessarily have their own inbuilt rules, if that makes sense. They do have their own inbuilt rules.
Yeah.
But like, if like I know there's a reroll charge mechanic from a character near a unit. Like this character is near this unit, so they get to reroll their charges, as opposed to it being tied to a stratagem. That means I completely remove this ethereal non-part of the game, and that dude being close is evocative of the game occurring. Yeah, like flying.
I don't think it's any more of a card mechanic than me choosing to drop a bomb on turn 1 or turn 2. It's just a one-use only thing that I can choose to do.
Yeah, I think one-use things are also dumb, but like that's a different side note. John, what
No,
what
that's
do you
fine.
think?
Yeah.
So yeah, a very similar sort of problem I have with it is that you'll get something like Smokescreen. They took that from being in a data sheet and made it into a stratagem. So it's another thing that when you're getting into the game, you've got to learn and remember, and it gives you this almost paralysis that when I've shown people the game from the get-go, they go, I've got 27 stratagems, and they get the 27 fucking cards out that they've bought, and then they don't do any of them because there's too many.
But I think it gives them,
as an intro.
I think it gives them the myth that they're doing something. Like it's all like like that.
It gives the illusion of choice.
It gives them the illusion.
Yeah,
like the
this is the thing. Absolutely
Yeah.
agreed. Absolutely agreed with that, 100%. And Zarkin's made the point in the chat that 40k has way too many rules, mechanics, opponent interactions, and reactions that a brand new player may as well feel like they're signing and paying for a master's degree in the United States at an Ivy League school. And is that like they're exactly right on that one? But I think my thing is that I would like to see much fewer of those, but much larger impact. Because when you are doing like 20 different reactions and interactions per game, which is what you're seeing when each player has effectively 18 CP that they're willing to spend over, or sorry, 17 CP that they can spend over the course of the game. And how many of them are like massively impactful, other than I can just do this every single turn? Like I'm going to fire and fade every single turn.
This is my point. I think CPs and also stratagems are redundant wholesale because you work backwards. You like yeah, I'll build my hyper efficient army. Min-max, but then you go like, actually, what are the stratagems that work really well? So your army is less relevant. Like the stratagems, which is just a page or two in a book, is somehow more relevant to everything you're doing in a game than the dozens of Black Library books, the years of lore that's been established, and the hundreds of pounds and hundreds of hours you've spent on your miniatures. All of that is less relevant because of the existence of stratagems. These things are like game winning. They're game changing, and they're like they're game like moving. But they're still ephemeral and almost, and also they're done all the time. You know, they're like, I'll do this every round. I do this every round. I do this every round. You're like, all right, cool. It just doesn't feel like. Surely you want the dudes, and dudettes, whoever, on the tabletop to be doing the shit. That's where the action should be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. And. But as a like overarching army, like with sub factions, why can't this sub faction specialize in doing this thing, and therefore once per game I get to do a thing with one of my units, right? I don't disagree with you about all the points that you made, but at the same time, I like the concept. I just don't think it's well implemented.
So when I first heard it, I liked it as well, right? Because they said that they were like, because I got introduced to it early before it launched, and one of the things that they said was they were like, we're going to be able to use it so well for narrative games, and I was like, actually, it works really well for narrative stuff. Like you pay a CP and you do something like story based. I don't fucking know, right? Like I quite like that idea.
You don't have to give away your secondaries.
You what?
There you go. You don't have to reveal your secondary cards when you're playing Maelstrom. You could pay a CP.
Yeah, like
to do that.
some fucking
so fun. Pointless.
Yeah, pointless. Exactly right. So I agree with you. I think that there's an interesting mechanic there, but I think it's so integral to how you play this edition of 40k, which is
I agree.
Is where I'm at.
Because the first
and to be fair, you've also had to just watch like dozens and dozens of games of AOS with that retreat stratagem.
Oh, the generic one.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called. But
I
can
don't
understand
hate the idea
how
of there
it can
being.
be incredibly
I
frustrating.
don't hate the idea of. So I quite like the 3 core 40k ones. So like the reroll one always annoyed the fuck out of me because the reroll one. Why did that get taken out between 8th and 9th? Because it was so fucking powerful.
Which reroll?
The command point reroll.
It's there. Just
it's
very
still there.
limited. It's very specific things you have to use it
That's
for.
my point. But it was used
you
for a
can't
lot
use it on
more
certain
before,
things,
right?
yeah.
But they've done that with a lot of stratagems. So from 8th, when it was like any infantry can do this thing, now it's like this one unit can do it.
Yeah. My point is that like I don't hate generic strats. I think because everyone knows what's going on there, I think that's fine. Anyway, how important is fairness when playing the game to you?
That's very broad.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I don't know that one.
I don't know. Oh my god, get off the fence.
Well, I don't know what the fucking question is. I don't understand
What do you think?
So to me, in the way I read that, so as the way I feel that they're intending that, I put that I think it's important because I don't want it to feel like I turn up with this army, I don't even try to build my list, and I'm just going to always have a better game. That doesn't feel like a good experience for me in a pickup game. So I want it to be fair that we've got the chance to both have some success.
Yeah, I agree. I think fairness is incredibly important, whether or not it be a game of 40k or billionaires getting murdered so we can take all their money off them. One of the two. I'm not joking. Right.
We know this is the problem.
I'm not joking at all.
I'm shaking.
Please select your response to the following statements. Rules erratas updates are good for the game. Strongly agree to I don't know. Tom.
Strongly agree on both counts.
Strongly agree. The rules updates are good for the game.
But no.
Okay. And what?
I'll put agree because it could be shit depending upon what you do.
This is what.
But in theory, yes.
Because like the idea of them doing them is great, but then if it is like going, here you go, there's nothing wrong with your
fuck it up.
Yeah, it's like the Jakari one where it's like, where is it? It's 3 lines. But never mind.
So I mean, you want them. You do still strongly agree that rules updates are good.
Yeah. In theory.
In theory, and then updates to points values are good for the game. Also, strongly agree. We all agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're all on that one. That's fine.
Just needs to be done at the right situation, right?
This is where we sort out the. This is the next question. Is where we find out who is a mess.
I'll voice note it.
Yeah, let's get in. Okay.
Anybody who put
let me read it out.
Question:
so
how often would you like?
Yeah. How often would you like rules errata and points updates to balance the game? Weekly.
You're
monthly.
a mess. Don't do that.
Monthly.
Absolutely
quarterly.
not.
Payday.
Every 6 months. Annually.
Probably slightly acceptable.
Once per faction per edition. Never. The rules as published in my codex are sacrosanct. I don't know. And Gitly, there is not an option for hourly.
Hourly.
Okay.
Tom, I'm sure people would have clicked that as well.
Tom, let's start with you with the big spicy feels.
Anybody who puts weekly to quarterly is a mess.
Get ready for a messy response. Get ready for a messy
There
response.
is no way. There is no way anybody would ever paint an army if they know that within 3 months that thing could be blasted from orbit.
That's the problem. That's the problem. I'll come back to that. Sorry, you carry on with your whole point, and then I'll address it.
That's my point. That is my point.
Okay, so what's your choice? What's your choice?
I'm gonna put 6 months.
Okay. Rules, erratas, and points updates every 6 months. John.
I like the yearly approach.
What is wrong?
Purely because I like the idea that every year they just rebalance it as a season, and then the thing that I find would be important is you then every 6 months, if stuff's really fucked, that should be put into an FAQ.
Right. Okay.
So you have like a quick patch if they really need it, but they shouldn't be really. If you're being optimistic about it, it should be once a year it updates, and then you've got a year knowing that things are going to be as they stay. That should be then you've got that army and you can work with that for a year.
Okay.
You know you've got some sort of consistency.
Okay. So let's talk about living games that exist. Yeah. Esports, card-based games, and other sort of stuff. Yeah. They definitely don't exist on yearly updates, John. Yeah. Right.
100% not.
That's just not what they do. Tom, they even don't exist on 6 months. So generally, the games that I look at tend to be done either quarterly or bi-monthly. Bi-monthly seems all right. Now that's not an option in
2
there,
to 3 months.
right?
Yeah, 2 to 3 months per set comes out.
Yeah, and that's card games. There's a bunch of different
Yeah,
games. There's a bunch of different games.
Go on.
Now I know Warhammer is a slightly different game, but I think Tom, your thoughts is that you think that the FAQs and points updates will just gigafuck an army build, basically.
I feel like I would never commit the money and time and resources to assemble and paint an army, given the possibility that it just gets nuked from orbit every 3 months.
Okay.
I feel like you're never leaving time for the game to settle.
All right. So, but we understand. Like, I think this is a fair point. The more work you do, traditionally, the better you like. If the more you practice guitar, the better you get at guitar, right? So if you had 4 balance patches over the course of a year, as opposed to 2 or 1, it would be more likely that those 4 balance patches would be 4 amounts of work producing 4 times the level of balance than 1 would, or even or twice as much as every 6 months, right? It would give you, and also because we know how they print these balance updates, which they do them 6 months before print or whatever the situation is, yeah, it brings that process maybe slightly better or closer to the existence of the actual game, ultimately. And I also think if you pushed it for quarterly, you would be more likely to get a digital version. I think 6 months and annually, you give them the option of still producing it in print. Yeah. But if you produce it in a digital format, then they have to. The only real experience.
I mean, you could go with the angle that I don't have to spend money in a book, but I do have to spend money on a brand new army.
See,
instead.
Now that's because you assume that they just giga nerf something to pieces. Yeah, that's the assumption.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yes.
The only reason I would argue for quarterly is because I have living experience of being part of a community that have intentionally FAQ'd their own game. So when Age of Sigmar first came out, hey aesthetics, thanks baby. When Age of Sigmar first came out, there was no points, so the community produced the points, and for nearly a year we produced points ourselves and we balanced the points ourselves. Right, and we did that on an almost monthly basis. And doing that on an almost monthly basis meant that stuff started to get closer and closer to some sort of equilibrium. Because I understand Tom's point about not wanting an army to get ruined, but we haven't even talked about internal balance yet. Yes, the list, that you end up producing is valid for 6 months, but it's just the list. Like there'll be stuff in the Orc book now which isn't good. Let's say, right? And you have to wait 6 months before, like, they're going to be spending most of their time in a 6 month yearly window to be like, oh, we'll get around. Okay, what's fucked? Okay, let's do something about them Scutari. Oh, let's fucking do something about those daughters, like, whatever. Yeah.
So how about approaching it in kind of the way I was trying to get at was that if books came out and there wasn't problems. So say after a book comes out, that book specifically, 3 months, 4 months down the line, they've got enough data to go, right, we over-egged the points here, we need to bring them down, do that, and then at the end of the year, look at it all as a whole thing anyway. So
how can you tell if the book's fucked or if it's just that you're playing in a new version of the game because you're changing it every 3 months?
Everything changes, right? Doesn't it?
But like,
and also, how do you know what the impacts are going to be of your changes? Like, this is my Gene Stealer Cult army. I've just got it down, but I was talking about earlier on in the show, okay? Now, was it kind of broken? Yeah, it kind of was. But was it the most broken or the strongest thing in the game at the time? Not even close. I spent £700 on this army. I spent a huge amount of time painting it, and all your jokes at the start of the show about how it's not painted nicely. It is painted nicely, actually. I put a lot of time into that. And they got fucked by one change in one FAQ, changing a yes to a no.
But the statement at the start of this, that it was kind of broken, not the most broken.
Yeah, it was just a good army that played gimmicky,
Okay, but like the point is, I think
and
the
it was
point in the
fun,
chat
and it was.
is, I think the point in
Whatever.
the chat is from Gitley. If your updates are massive lurches, then it will be wild. But you can be more gentle with the balancing if it's more regular. So you said that that singular
I
update.
don't trust them to know the difference between a gentle and a big balance
Who?
patch, because games
Oh, I agree
Workshop.
with that.
I don't trust them to know the difference between a gentle balance patch and a big one, because that change for that army looked tiny to anyone who wasn't playing that, but it was massive and it completely fucked the
But
entire
then,
army.
under your process, the next time that would get looked at again is 6 months. But under 3 months, you could look again in 3 months and be like, okay, what's the situation?
Rob, we've had free edition changes. We've had biannual FAQs since 8th edition dropped, and that still hasn't come out of the closet for 5 years.
All right. Well, then, yeah. Okay. Well, I don't think they do good FAQs anyway.
I can't get on board
Yeah,
with that.
I don't think they do good FAQs anyway. But I think
They could do weekly FAQs.
No,
It'll be
so I'd
shit.
rather at least give them at least the time to do it properly while giving people time to breathe and
But they
say I'm gonna like people
already-
say I'm gonna play this faction for an ITC
but they
year.
already do it at
But
6 months of the year, and they already don't do it well based under your own example.
Oh no, of course, yeah, and this will be worse. I'm not. It's fine. It's all good. And like people say, oh, I want to play this faction for an entire ITC year. How can you say that when it changes like 3 or 4 times a year, and maybe you just don't enjoy the faction anymore? Part of the joy is committing to an army and playing that army.
Yep.
And you can't do that if you know that once every 3 months they're going to make some drastic changes, or even gentle changes that they just tend to turn out to be drastic. You might think that they change like a 6 to a 7 or a 6 to a 5 on a stat line in an FAQ that comes out once every like 3 months. Isn't a massive deal, but as for that one guy playing that one unit, it might really ruin his experience.
Yeah, but I think it also stops. That one guy might have a poor experience, but it also stops what is the key point of everyone having a shitty experience right now under Dark Eldar. Like, and it's like, yeah, someone may be negatively affected because they had a personal mission to play an army for a year, but ultimately, I think it's more helpful. Like, I think it's more helpful for more regular, right? Like, I think it's more anyway. So we've all had an opinion on this, which is good. Yeah. So I think quarterly. John, you still think annually, and Tom, you think every 6 months. Yeah.
I don't think there's a right answer.
I think that they need enough time to be able to actually do something properly. And is 6 months enough time for them to do it properly? Well, it should be. Are they doing it properly? No. But I don't think it's reasonable to expect anyone to do it properly in 3 months.
I think it's very reasonable. I think they're like, I think the myth that they spend like this, like they've lit 73 candles and they're like rubbing incense and they're having like an 83-hour sit-in to work out exactly how they're going to fix 40k is such an insane marketing myth. Like that they don't like.
I'm never saying that. Not saying that either.
No, I didn't.
Not
I didn't
saying
say
that
you
either.
were.
We've already been through the point of. I know, but why bring it up? My point is that if you you release the FAQ, fine, okay. Then people plan their armies. How many weeks does that take? Let's say 1 or 2 at most, like to be generous. Okay, fine. Now people buy those armies. They then spend time painting those armies. How long does that take? About a month. Okay, you're already 6 months into that cycle. People then go out and play those armies. Those stats then come out, and then you start producing the FAQ. How much time have you had? If you have 6 months, at least it's reasonable to expect you've had enough time to see the data bear out.
I think the key point is that I don't disagree with that. I think there's some really solid points in there. I think actually if you just regularly updated FAQs, what you would end up with, is you could just be like, I can comfortably stay with an army. Like you wouldn't have to be like a multi-army player because one of your armies gets dunked on for however long Gene Stealer Cults have sucked, which is like 4 years. Like, right? You would be like, oh, actually, it's reasonable spec. The problem is that question is asinine anyway, whatever any of us decide, because the FAQs are terrible for balance patches as is. So it's
okay. People seem to like asking asinine questions today, so it's all right. Not you guys.
Right. Okay. So the last one, is there anything else you would like to tell us about your thoughts about Warhammer 40,000, the game? John, what do you think?
Less planes in detachments, I think, is something I would like to see.
Okay, because that's the flavour of the month negative.
Well, just because I don't want to feel like any kind of unit can get spammed into the point where you've got almost as many troops as you've got planes.
Yeah.
Just it doesn't feel a sustainable and fun game to be playing. That, and I'd like just to actually see more new models that are like, if they were asking me any old thing, I'd like to see more new models of variation, like seeing different guard upgrade sprues, all that sort of thing. I want to see more of that sort of thing, so that people can make their army look like a specific thing.
Okay.
Like orcs, having like clan-specific bits you can stick on your crap, so it's not just these are my orcs that are painted a weird brown color. They are today Death Skulls and Freebooters. There we go.
All right. Okay. Interesting. Tom, what do you think? Anything else you'd like to sort on your thoughts about Warhammer 40,000, the game?
It sucks.
Have you got anything more detailed than that?
No. I think we've been through enough.
Thanks, Nurgle Matthew. What are my thoughts about Warhammer 40,000, the game? Is there anything additional? I mean, it would be cool if they listened to the player base, I would argue, about a bunch of different stuff. But ultimately, I think the game could be more streamlined. Like, I think for me, it feels like the over-egged complexity doesn't actually add anything. I don't walk away from thinking, oh, that conjunction of rules actions really worked. Have you watched Parks and Rec by any chance, Tom?
No, I think I've seen a couple of episodes of you guys.
Okay, John, have you seen Parks and Rec?
Bits of it.
So there's a scene, and I encourage you to go watch it on YouTube, where the guy who invents the game, The Cones of Dunshire, he invents this game called The Cones of Dunshire, which is very, very complicated. Anyway, he becomes the creator, and it eventually becomes like an internet fad. The internet fad, he eventually like finds it in this kind of tech company HQ, and then he challenges the tech people to play The Cones of Dunshire, right? And my favorite bit is that he just does some insane move, which looks really fun. Like, I don't know what he does. He like uses his simple farmer to knock over the final cone. It's like incredibly dumb. Yeah, it's just a skit basically. But it reminds me of like 40k a lot, where like someone's like, I do this, and I do this, and now you're dead. Like, and I sometimes think that could be avoided a little bit. I don't mind just statline dude X battle statline dude Y. It's a battle. Like, what more do I really need? I roll some dice to see if they shoot the dudes. Those guys roll some dice to see if they live. Like, do I need much more than that? Does it need? Like, do I need my question is, do I need the smell of a scented candle to play 40k, or do I not? That's my fun.
Mate, I saw that video that you did. Fucking hell. Like...
Do you know what I'm upset about? That they did candles, but they didn't do what are they called? It's the things where you got the sticks with the scent, the essence stuff. What are they called?
What?
Oh, diffusers.
I have no idea what you mean.
Diffusers. Much cooler. You don't have to burn anything.
Okay, all right. So, what did you think of the overall? What did you think of it? Oh, wait, there's more. Fuck. Okay, let's rifle through these.
Is there more after game
What's your current situation? Living at home, living alone, living with friends, living with a partner.
Rob, don't tell them. It's a secret.
Living alone. Living with friends, living with a partner, bringing up children, children left at home. I'm actually living with friends. Intern Matt got a job in Nottingham, so I'm putting him up for a few months while he starts his new career, which is super cute. And then a bunch of very personal questions. Okay, well, we won't carry on with the quiz. Then it goes on to ask
to know how much money
how much money you make. Okay, the lowest amount of money.
Also, technically, everybody lives at home.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm not filling the rest of it in.
So, what do you feel
right
about the quiz overall? Survey. Yeah.
I hope it's just a marketing exercise, but I doubt it.
You doubt it? Okay. And what do you think? What do you think that they'll have learned from that survey?
All kind of silly degeneracy. I would assume.
What do you think, John?
I think because they've done this multiple years before, and I don't feel like they really take any of it on board. I feel like what they're going to get is a lot of very angry people that read a lot of articles about the meta, on something like Goonhammer and get very upset and angry about a faction that they've never actually played against,
Right.
to then say, these are really fucking broken, but they've never played them. They are proper broken, but they've never played it. So it's just a lot of just angry, emotional stuff being sent to them that they're not going to pay attention to it. Why would they? Why would they?
So McWhirper said, didn't these surveys get us Plastic Sisters and Plastic BT update? Hilarious. Imagine that. Imagine, like, would you like to see this army that we're doing return? Yes. Well, guess what? We're already doing it. It's not like they were like, hold fire, boys. Are we going to do Plastic Sisters battle? And they were like, let's do a survey first. Let's see if anyone wants it. Let's do a survey. Like, we'll ask. Oh, apparently they want it. Apparently they'll buy any crock of shit that we make. Yeah. Otherwise, why would, like, they could do Marines next year? They've not done a survey about that. Like,
they did a plastic Thunderhawk that's coming out this weekend.
They've done a quiz about that. Anyway, so what are your final thoughts on it? John, what's your final thoughts on it?
I hope they never do this ever again because I don't really want to even consider that could potentially listen to what I say and take it on board because that feels like
yes. Agree.
I mean, I would quite like for them to just eventually just get on board with a plan. I think that's the thing that feels most out of place for 40k is they don't necessarily feel like there's a whole solid plan, like, you know. So anyway, it's been really interesting talking about with you guys, and the real answer is we never got a survey about whether or not we wanted 40k candles, but we got them. Have you guys got any?
Did. I feel like because we got a survey about this, we're not going to get a good 40k.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
So, John, you got any 40k you're going to be doing next week?
I'm playing some more Crusade on the weekend. I'm playing Lord of the Rings on Friday at my club night. That's going to be great, because that's actually a quite balanced game.
Oh, interesting.
And good fun.
Tom, what about you?
I'm painting some more.
Nice. The Shadow Specters.
I don't think I'm doing anything else. Yeah, mate, I need to get through this mountain of shit. I'm going to glue my fingers. They're going to be like fucking slabs by the time I'm finished.
Nice, yeah. It's putting together Forge World minis is crazy. All right, well, thanks very much to both of you for being on the show. It's been lovely talking to you both and going through this as a process. It's been quite fun.
Yeah, you too.
Chat, I hope you guys have enjoyed it as well. Loads of love to you. If you're watching on YouTube, leave some comments below. If you listen to the podcast, thanks for staying hydrated. And if you're one of the people on Patreon supporting the show, then obviously you guys are the balls. Let's be real. Thanks for tuning in today. We'll be back next Thursday if you want to talk specifically 40k, or I'll be live tomorrow if you want to talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about. But please don't send me any of the candles. That's really important. So thanks very much. You got any shout outs before we go, John?
I'd like to shout out to Gaz from Team Wales.
Cute.
Because he's an absolute
Which one?
Captain Gaz. The captain that doesn't want to be a captain, but he's my captain.
We do chain him to the rock. Yeah.
What about you, Tom?
No, I'm not going to shout at anyone today. Not today. Yeah.
All right, chat. Love you loads.
and-
See you soon. Have a nice day.